My name is Madison Reynolds, 34, and I never imagined that paying my parents $700 weekly for childcare would lead to heartbreak. When they missed my daughter Lily's 5th birthday without explanation, my world shattered. The betrayal cut deeper than I could have anticipated, especially after trusting them with the most precious person in my life. What unfolded afterward revealed painful truths about money, family, and boundaries that changed everything. Before I share this emotional journey, drop a comment letting me know where you're watching from and hit subscribe to join our community of survivors who've rebuilt family relationships from ashes. 2 years ago, my life underwent a seismic shift when my husband Mark and I finalized our divorce. The separation wasn't particularly ugly, just two people who had grown in different directions, but it left me as the primary caregiver for our daughter Lily, who was only 3 at the time. I maintained my position as a senior marketing executive at Horizon Brands, a demanding role that required long hours and occasional travel to meet with clients across the country. Lily has always been the bright spot in my life, a sweet, sensitive child with an imagination that could transform our living room into enchanted forests or underwater kingdoms with nothing more than a blanket and a few stuffed animals. Since she could talk, unicorns have been her passion. Her bedroom looks like a unicorn explosion, from the bedspread to the wallpaper to the nightlight that projects rainbow patterns on her ceiling. She's artistic like her father, already showing remarkable talent with crayons and watercolors. After the divorce, childcare became my most pressing challenge. The top-rated daycare centers in our area charged astronomical fees, and their rigid schedules didn't accommodate my unpredictable work hours. I tried hiring college students as after-school babysitters, but they frequently canceled for exams or campus events, leaving me scrambling for last-minute replacements. One particularly stressful week, when 3 different sitters canceled, I broke down in tears while on the phone with my mother, Eleanor. "Madison, this is ridiculous," my mother said after listening to my tearful explanation. "Your father and I are only 15 minutes away. We're both retired now. We can watch Lily." My father, Richard, a recently retired high school principal, chimed in on the extension. "We'd love more time with our granddaughter anyway. You know we've been wanting to see her more." Their offer seemed like the perfect solution. My parents adored Lily, and she worshipped them right back. My father would read her the same stories he once read to me, doing all the character voices that still made her giggle uncontrollably. My mother taught Lily to bake cookies and plant flowers in their backyard garden. They had always been reliable, responsible people who raised me with love and stability. Despite their protests, I insisted on compensating them fairly, $700 per week, which was actually less than what I'd been paying for inconsistent care elsewhere. "You're doing me an enormous favor," I explained. "And this is professional childcare we're talking about. I wouldn't expect you to do it for free." "We don't need your money, sweetheart," my father said, though he didn't refuse it when I pressed the issue. We established a routine. My parents would arrive at my house by 7:30 each morning to get Lily ready for kindergarten. They'd pick her up at 3 p.m. and stay until I got home, usually around 6:30. During my business trips, they'd stay overnight at my place. The arrangement worked beautifully for months, giving me peace of mind knowing Lily was with people who loved her unconditionally. Or so I thought. Looking back, I can identify subtle shifts in our dynamic after money entered the equation. My father started making offhand comments about how challenging it was to keep up with an energetic 5-year-old. My mother occasionally complained about having to decline lunch invitations with her friends because of babysitting duties. Still, they never suggested ending our arrangement, and I attributed their comments to normal grandparent fatigue. As Lily's 5th birthday approached in April, she could hardly contain her excitement. We planned a unicorn-themed party at our home with 10 of her kindergarten friends. For weeks, she talked about nothing else, especially how Grandma and Grandpa had promised to bring a super special unicorn surprise. Every evening, she added new details to her birthday countdown chart: the rainbow unicorn cake, the glitter horn party hats, the magical scavenger hunt, and, most importantly, her grandparents' mysterious gift. The day before the party, I was putting final touches on decorations when my phone buzzed with a text from my mother. "Something came up. Can't make it tomorrow. Tell Lily we're sorry and we'll make it up to her. Love you both. I stared at the screen in disbelief. Surely there had been some mistake. I immediately called my mother's cell phone. No answer. I tried my father's phone. Straight to voicemail. I sent multiple texts asking what emergency had arisen and offering to help however I could. No response. That night, Lily asked me to check her party list one final time before bed. And Grandma and Grandpa are bringing my unicorn surprise, she said, her eyes shining with anticipation. My heart sank as I sat on the edge of her unicorn bedspread. Sweetie, I need to tell you something. Grandma and Grandpa called, and they can't come to your party tomorrow. Her small face crumpled. But they promised. They promised the surprise. I know they did, honey. Sometimes grown-ups have emergencies, and they can't keep their promises even when they really, really want to. The explanation sounded hollow, even to my own ears. What kind of emergency? Lily asked, tears welling in her eyes. I don't know exactly, I admitted. But I'm sure it must be something very important. She cried herself to sleep that night, clutching the stuffed unicorn they had given her for Christmas. I sat in the darkened hallway outside her room, my own tears falling as I continued sending unanswered messages to my parents. Determined not to let their absence ruin Lily's special day, I woke up early and drove to 3 different stores before finding a large unicorn balloon sculpture to replace whatever surprise my parents had planned. I added an extra gift, the deluxe art set she had been eyeing, but I had initially deemed too expensive. The party itself went reasonably well on the surface. Lily's friends arrived in unicorn headbands and sparkly outfits. They decorated unicorn cookies, painted unicorn figurines, and hunted for magical gems in the backyard. The rainbow cake was a hit, and Lily seemed to enjoy opening her presents. But throughout the celebration, I noticed how her eyes kept darting to the front door whenever the doorbell rang, how her smile dimmed slightly when it was just another parent dropping off a gift. During the cake cutting, I caught her scanning the room, undoubtedly looking for her grandparents. When her friend Zoe asked where they were, Lily simply shrugged and said, "They had an emergency," in a small voice that broke my heart. As the day progressed, my concern transformed into simmering anger. What possible emergency could have prevented them from even calling to speak directly to Lily on her birthday? Why were they completely ignoring my messages? The more I thought about it, the more their behavior seemed inexcusably callous. After the last party guest departed and Lily had fallen asleep surrounded by her new presents, I tried calling my parents again. Still no answer. I left a voicemail that barely concealed my anger. I don't know what's going on, but Lily was devastated today. She deserved a phone call at minimum. Please let me know you're both okay, because I'm starting to worry something serious has happened. 2 days passed with no communication. I was vacillating between concern for their welfare and fury at their behavior when my phone finally chimed with a text from my mother. Sorry for the radio silence. Friends had emergency situation, needed our help. We'll come by tomorrow to give Lily her present. No explanation of the nature of this emergency. No acknowledgement of how hurtful their absence had been. No recognition of having missed a crucial milestone in their only grandchild's life. When they showed up at our doorstep the following afternoon, they acted as if nothing unusual had occurred. My mother breezed in with a gift-wrapped package, kissing Lily on the head. "There's our birthday girl. We have your special unicorn present." Lily's initial reaction was pure joy. She ran to them with open arms, all hurt seemingly forgotten. But I couldn't move past it so easily. After Lily had opened her gift, an admittedly beautiful unicorn rocking horse that she immediately began playing with, I asked her to go try it out in her playroom so I could speak with her grandparents privately. "What happened Saturday?" I asked, keeping my voice low but firm. "What kind of emergency keeps you from even calling your granddaughter on her birthday?" My mother waved her hand dismissively. "Our friends the Martins had a pipe burst in their basement. Water everywhere. They needed help moving furniture before everything was ruined. All day? And neither of you could take 30 seconds to call Lily? Or respond to any of my messages?" "We were busy, Madison," my father said with an edge to his voice. "And honestly, it's just a birthday party. There will be others." I stared at him in disbelief. Just a birthday party? She's 5 years old. She was counting down the days until you came with your special surprise. She cried herself to sleep because you broke your promise. You're overreacting, my mother said, glancing toward her purse as her phone chimed with a notification. Children are resilient. She seems perfectly fine now. Something in their cavalier attitude didn't add up. A burst pipe was certainly inconvenient for their friends, but it hardly explained their complete communication blackout or their dismissive attitude now. I decided to do something I'd never considered necessary before. I would investigate what had really happened that weekend. That evening, after Lily was asleep, I opened my laptop and checked my parents' Facebook accounts, something I rarely bothered with since we spoke or saw each other almost daily. My mother wasn't particularly active online, but my father occasionally posted photos or shared articles. What I found made my blood run cold. 3 days earlier, my mother had checked in at the Golden Shores Resort and Casino, tagging my father and another couple, the Wilsons, with the caption, "Weekend getaway with friends. Lucky slots, here we come." There were several photos posted throughout the weekend. My parents at a restaurant overlooking the ocean, the 4 of them dressed up for a show, my father grinning widely while standing next to a slot machine. All time-stamped during Lily's birthday celebration. It wasn't an emergency. It was a gambling weekend with friends. I sat motionless, staring at the evidence of their deliberate deception. They had chosen a casino trip over their granddaughter's birthday and then lied about it without hesitation. The casual cruelty of their choice left me breathless. The next morning, I dropped Lily at kindergarten and drove straight to my parents' house, screenshots of the Facebook posts saved on my phone. My hands shook slightly as I knocked on their door. My mother answered, surprise evident on her face. "Madison, why aren't you at work? Is everything okay?" "No, everything is not okay," I said, walking past her into the living room where my father sat reading the newspaper. "I need to understand why you both lied to me about where you were this weekend." "What are you talking about?" my mother asked, but her expression had already shifted into something more guarded. I pulled out my phone and showed them the Facebook posts. "You weren't helping the Martins with a burst pipe. You were at Golden Shores with the Wilsons." My father folded his newspaper deliberately. "We're entitled to a weekend away occasionally. We watch Lily all week long." "I'm not questioning your right to time off," I said, struggling to keep my voice steady. "I'm questioning why you chose to schedule it on Lily's birthday when you knew how important it was to her, and why you lied about it afterward." "We needed a break," my mother said defensively. "We had this planned for months. Diana Wilson won it in a radio contest, and they invited us to join them." "And you couldn't have told me that?" "We could have rescheduled Lily's party if it was that important to you." "You're being ungrateful," my father said, his tone hardening. "After everything we do for you and Lily." "Ungrateful? I pay you $700 every week." An uncomfortable silence followed my outburst. My parents exchanged a look I couldn't interpret. "We wouldn't need your money if your father hadn't lost his retirement investing in that restaurant venture with his brother," my mother finally said, her voice bitter. "But you wouldn't know about that because we didn't want to worry you during your divorce." The revelation hit me like a physical blow. "What are you talking about? What restaurant venture?" My father sighed heavily. 3 years ago, before I retired, my brother convinced me to invest most of my retirement savings in a restaurant he wanted to open. It failed within 8 months. We lost almost everything. "Why didn't you tell me?" I asked, genuinely shocked. My parents had always been financially prudent, even conservative. This risky investment seemed completely out of character. "We were embarrassed," my mother admitted. "We thought we could recover without anyone knowing." A horrible suspicion began forming in my mind. "The money I've been paying you for childcare, where has it been going?" Another weighted silence. "We've had some expenses," my father said vaguely. "Like casino weekends." I pressed. My mother's face flushed. "Your father enjoys playing the slots. It relaxes him. And sometimes he wins enough to make a difference." The pieces were falling into place, their increasing unreliability, their defensiveness, their desperate need for the money I provided despite claiming not to need it. My father had developed a gambling habit, and they were using my childcare payments to fund it. I felt simultaneously angry at their deception and concerned about their situation. Dad, gambling isn't a retirement strategy. If you're in financial trouble, we should talk about real solutions, not fantasies about hitting jackpots. Don't lecture me, my father snapped. I'm still your father. And I'm Lily's mother, I countered. Her well-being comes first. If you can't prioritize her over a weekend at the slots, then we need to reconsider our arrangement. Fine, my mother said, crossing her arms. Find someone else to watch her at the last minute whenever you need to run off to your important business meetings. Their attitude shocked me, but I refused to be manipulated. I'll continue bringing Lily here as scheduled for now, but things need to change. I need to be able to trust you both. As I drove to work afterward, my mind raced with conflicting emotions. I was angry about the lie, worried about their finances, and concerned about my father's apparent gambling problem. But most of all, I was troubled by how quickly they had dismissed Lily's feelings. That wasn't the loving grandparent behavior I had always known from them. I decided to continue the arrangement temporarily while establishing clearer boundaries, but I had no idea that an even greater betrayal was just around the corner. 2 weeks after the birthday incident, I had an unavoidable overnight business trip to Chicago. Our company was pitching to a major potential client, and as the team leader, I couldn't delegate this presentation. My parents agreed to stay at my house with Lily as they had done numerous times before. I prepared everything meticulously, laid out Lily's clothes for school, prepared her favorite breakfast foods, wrote detailed instructions about her homework and bedtime routine. I even prepared a casserole they could simply heat up for dinner. We've done this a dozen times, Madison, my mother said with slight irritation as I reviewed the schedule. We know the routine. I know, Mom. I just want to make sure everything goes smoothly. I knelt to hug Lily goodbye. Be good for Grandma and Grandpa, okay? I'll call you before bedtime, and I'll be back tomorrow afternoon. I will, Mommy. Love you to the moon and back, she replied, our standard farewell. The presentation the next morning was going exceptionally well. The clients seemed engaged, asking thoughtful questions about our marketing strategy. I was in the middle of explaining our social media approach when my phone began vibrating repeatedly in my pocket, not just one call, but several in quick succession. Concerned it might be an emergency, I apologized to the room and glanced at the screen. 3 missed calls from Lily's school. My heart dropped. I hurriedly asked my colleague to continue the presentation and stepped into the hallway to return the call. Ms. Reynolds. The school secretary sounded relieved when I answered. We've been trying to reach you. Lily wasn't dropped off this morning, and she's not marked as absent in our system. We tried calling your emergency contacts, but couldn't reach them either. What? I felt a wave of panic. My parents were supposed to take her to school this morning. Let me call them right away. I hung up and immediately dialed my parents' cell phones. Both went straight to voicemail. Next, I called my home phone. No answer. With shaking hands, I texted my neighbor, Diane, emergency, can you check if my parents' car is at my house? Lily isn't at school. Diane responded almost immediately, no cars in driveway. Want me to use spare key to check inside? Yes, please. ASAP, I replied. The next 5 minutes were the longest of my life. I paced the hallway, ignoring curious glances from passing hotel staff, trying to fight off worst-case scenarios flooding my mind. My phone rang. Diane. Madison, the house is empty, but there's a note on the kitchen counter from your mom saying they dropped Lily at my house this morning. But they didn't, I've been home all day. Fresh panic surged through me. What? That makes no sense. Lily is missing. Wait, Diane said. Let me call Barbara across the street. Her grandson sometimes plays with Lily. I waited, barely breathing, as Diane put me on hold. When she returned, her voice was much calmer. Barbara has Lily. Your parents dropped her off there around 8 a.m., saying there was a family emergency and asking if she could watch Lily until they returned. They said they'd cleared it with you. Relief washed over me, immediately followed by confusion and anger. I never approved that. Can you please pick Lily up and keep her until I get home? I'm leaving Chicago right now. I apologized profusely to my team and the clients, citing a family emergency. Then I booked the first available flight home, paying an exorbitant last-minute fare. During my layover, I received a text from Barbara. Lily is fine, having dinner with us. She said this isn't the first time her grandparents have dropped her with neighbors. Should I be concerned? Not the first time? I felt sick to my stomach. When I finally arrived at Barbara's house that evening, Lily ran to me with a hug, but didn't seem particularly disturbed. As Barbara's grandson showed her a new toy in the other room, Barbara pulled me aside. Madison, I don't want to overstep, but Lily mentioned that she stayed with several different neighbors when her grandparents needed to go somewhere important. She seemed to think it was normal. I would have told you if I'd known. I thanked Barbara profusely for her help and took Lily home, tucking her into bed with extra hugs and reassurances that I wasn't going anywhere. Once she was asleep, I sat down with her favorite stuffed unicorn in my lap and gently asked her about staying with neighbors when Grandma and Grandpa watched her. "It's okay, Mommy," she said with the innocent acceptance only a child could muster. "Grandma says it's our secret game. I get to have playdates and they get to run errands." "How many times has this happened, sweetie?" I asked, keeping my voice casual despite the fury building inside me. Lily thought for a moment, then held up one hand with all 5 fingers extended. "This many? Maybe more? And did Grandma and Grandpa tell you not to tell me about this game?" She nodded, suddenly looking uncertain. "Am I in trouble?" "No, honey, not at all," I assured her, hugging her tightly. "You did nothing wrong. I'm just a little surprised because Grandma and Grandpa are supposed to tell me about all your playdates." After she fell asleep, I checked my phone to find a text from my mother sent just an hour earlier. "Sorry for the confusion today. Friend needed emergency help. Lily had fun play date with Barbara's grandson. All good now, we'll pick her up for school tomorrow." They didn't even know I was home. They had no idea that I had discovered their neglect, or that Lily had revealed their pattern of abandoning her with neighbors whenever they felt like it. I called my mother immediately. "Where are you?" I demanded when she answered. "Madison? We're at home. Is something wrong?" "Yes, something is very wrong. I'm home now. I had to leave an important business presentation and fly back early because you abandoned my daughter without telling me." "That's ridiculous," she scoffed. "We arranged a play date with Barbara's grandson. Lily loves playing with him." "Stop lying." I rarely raised my voice, but I couldn't contain myself. "Barbara told me you claimed there was a family emergency and that I had approved the arrangement." Neither was true. A pause. "We had an important appointment. Lily was perfectly safe." "What appointment?" "Another casino trip." The silence on the other end confirmed my suspicion. "And apparently this isn't the first time," I continued, my voice shaking with rage. "Lily told me about your secret game, where she gets surprise playdates with neighbors while you two run errands. How could you repeatedly lie to me and endanger my child?" "We never endangered her," my father's voice came on the line now. "We always left her with responsible adults. Without my knowledge or consent. Do you understand that's neglect? That it's a complete violation of my trust? That you've been teaching my 5-year-old to keep secrets from me?" "You're overreacting again," my mother said. "Lily was happy and safe every time. We're not apologizing for occasionally needing a break from babysitting." Their utter lack of remorse stunned me. They saw nothing wrong with routinely abandoning their granddaughter with random neighbors, lying to me about it, and instructing Lily to keep it secret. They weren't the loving, responsible grandparents I had always believed them to be. That night, I made a decision. I would confront them one final time, face to face, and determine whether our relationship could be salvaged. I arranged for Lily to have dinner and a sleepover with her friend Zoe the following evening. Then I invited my parents to meet me at Riverside Grill, a quiet restaurant where we could have a private conversation. I arrived early, ordering a glass of wine to steady my nerves while rehearsing what I needed to say. They arrived looking casual and unbothered, as if this were any ordinary dinner. My mother kissed my cheek, my father gave my shoulder a squeeze, and they sat down across from me. "No Lily tonight?" my mother asked. "She's at a sleepover with Zoe," I replied. "I wanted to speak with you both privately." "If this is about yesterday," my father began. "It's about everything," I interrupted. The missed birthday, the lying, the casino trips, and especially the pattern of abandoning Lily with neighbors without my knowledge. We never abandoned, my mother started, but I held up my hand. Please let me finish. For months, I've paid you $700 a week to provide safe, loving care for my daughter. Instead, you've repeatedly left her with various neighbors, instructed her to lie to me about it, and prioritized gambling trips over her well-being and important events in her life. My father's face hardened. Are you spying on us now? Spying? Dad, your casino photos are public on Facebook. And I didn't need to spy to discover you've been pawning my daughter off on neighbors. Lily told me herself about your secret game. Those neighbors are perfectly nice people, my mother insisted. That's not the point. I don't even know some of them. You had no right to make those decisions without consulting me. We're her grandparents, my father said indignantly. We don't need your permission for playdates. You absolutely do when I'm paying you to be her caregivers. What if something had happened to her? What if one of these perfectly nice people wasn't so nice after all? Did you even consider the risk you were taking with my child's safety? A tense silence fell over the table. A server approached to take our order, but quickly retreated when he sensed the atmosphere. The truth is, I continued more quietly, I don't think I can trust you anymore. And I need to understand why this has happened. This isn't the behavior I expect from the parents who raised me. My father stared into his water glass for a long moment before speaking. Things haven't been easy since I lost the retirement money. The casino, it gives me hope. Every time I sit at those machines, I believe this might be the day I win it all back. You've developed a gambling addiction, Dad, I said as gently as possible. And it's affecting your judgment and your relationship with your granddaughter. Don't be dramatic, my mother cut in. Your father enjoys gambling. That doesn't make him an addict. Then why are you using my childcare payments to fund casino trips instead of actually providing childcare? Why are you lying and sneaking around? My father's face flushed with anger. You think you can judge us? You have no idea what it's like trying to rebuild retirement savings at our age. That money you so generously pay us? It barely covers our property taxes since we had to refinance the house. I would have helped you if I'd known you were in financial trouble, I exclaimed. But instead, you chose to neglect my daughter and lie to me. We've watched Lily more hours than you can count, my mother said, her voice rising. One missed birthday and a few hours with neighbors doesn't erase everything we've done. A few hours? Lily indicated it's happened at least 5 times that she can remember, and she's only 5 years old. How many times have you actually done this? Neither of them answered immediately. The silence was damning. Look, my father finally said, leaning forward. If the current arrangement isn't working for you, perhaps we should adjust it. We could watch Lily fewer days, or you could increase the payment to make it worth our while. I stared at him in disbelief. Worth your while? She's your granddaughter, not a business transaction. Of course she is, my mother said quickly. But realistically, if we're providing professional childcare services, we should be compensated accordingly. $1,000 a week would be more appropriate for the hours we put in. I felt as if I were seeing my parents clearly for the first time, not as the loving, supportive figures of my childhood, but as desperate, resentful people who viewed their relationship with Lily as a burdensome job rather than a cherished bond. This isn't about money, I said quietly. This is about trust and priorities. I trusted you with the most important person in my life, and you betrayed that trust repeatedly. So melodramatic, my mother scoffed. If you're not willing to properly compensate us, perhaps it's best we end this arrangement. We're not getting any younger, Madison. Chasing after a kindergartner isn't as easy as you seem to think. I agree we should end it, I said, surprised by the calm in my voice despite the storm of emotions inside me. I'll make other arrangements for Lily's care immediately. Fine, my father said, standing abruptly. When you realize how difficult it is to find reliable childcare on short notice, don't come crawling back unless you're ready to pay what our time is actually worth. $1,000 a week, minimum, my mother added as she gathered her purse. And we'll need a contract. Without waiting for my response, they walked out of the restaurant, leaving me alone at the table with our orders still untaken. The finality of their exit, prioritizing money over reconciliation, told me everything I needed to know about how our relationship had fundamentally changed. I sat there long after they left, nursing my wine and wondering how I would explain to Lily that she wouldn't be seeing her grandparents for a while. Tears slid down my cheeks as I mourned not just the practical childcare arrangement that had fallen apart, but the relationship I had believed we had, one based on love and trust rather than financial transaction. The following weeks were among the most challenging of my life. Finding alternative childcare on short notice proved nearly impossible. The waitlists for reputable daycare centers stretched months long. The few college student babysitters available wanted consistent hours I couldn't guarantee with my fluctuating work schedule. For the first week, I cobbled together a patchwork of solutions, taking Lily to work with me on days when I had no external meetings, using vacation days I couldn't afford to spend, begging favor after favor from Lily's friends' parents for after-school playdates. Meanwhile, my parents had apparently been sharing their version of events with our extended family. My phone filled with voicemails from my Aunt Brenda. How could you accuse your father of gambling addiction? From my Uncle Stephen, your parents gave up their retirement to help you, and this is how you repay them. Each message twisted the knife deeper, making me question whether I had overreacted. But then I would remember Lily's casual revelation about the secret game, and my resolve would strengthen again. My daughter's safety and emotional well-being weren't negotiable, regardless of family pressure. The strain began showing at work. I missed deadlines for the first time in my career. During team meetings, I found myself losing track of conversations, my mind preoccupied with childcare logistics. My presentation materials lacked their usual polish. My boss, Nathaniel, began giving me concerned looks in the hallway. After I fell asleep during an important client call, he called me into his office. Madison, is everything all right? This isn't the performance we've come to expect from you. I considered offering a vague reassurance, but found myself too exhausted to maintain the facade. I'm having a family crisis, I admitted. My childcare arrangement fell through suddenly, and I'm struggling to find a replacement. Nathaniel's expression softened slightly. I understand personal challenges, but this is affecting your work substantially. The Chicago presentation, walking out mid-pitch, cost us that account. I know, and I'm truly sorry. My daughter wasn't at school, and I couldn't reach anyone who was supposed to be watching her. The explanation sounded insufficient even to my own ears. Madison, you're one of our strongest team members, but I need to be direct. If your performance doesn't improve quickly, we'll need to reconsider your role on major accounts, possibly your position with the company. The threat of losing my job, the income that supported Lily and me, added a new level of panic to my already overwhelming stress. I nodded, promised improvement, and returned to my office where I closed the door and let silent tears fall. During my lunch break, I retreated to the company kitchen to heat a frozen meal, too tired to have packed anything fresh. My colleague Jessica found me staring blankly into the microwave. Rough day, she asked, her voice genuinely concerned. Something about her kindness broke through my carefully constructed barriers. Before I could stop myself, I was telling her everything: the childcare crisis, my parents' betrayal, the gambling, the threatening job situation. Jessica listened without interruption, then placed her hand on my arm. Madison, I'm so sorry you've been dealing with all this alone. My sister Amanda runs a small home daycare. It's not fancy, but the kids love her, and she might have space for Lily. I felt a flicker of hope for the first time in weeks. Really? Could you introduce us? Of course. Why don't you come over for dinner tonight? Bring Lily, my kids would love to meet her. That evening, exhausted but desperate, I took Lily to Jessica's house. Her home was warm and inviting, with children's artwork displayed prominently on the refrigerator. Her two children immediately invited Lily to see their toy collection, and the adults retreated to the kitchen where Amanda was helping prepare dinner. Amanda was younger than Jessica, maybe in her early 30s, with a warm smile and a calm presence. As we discussed her daycare operation, I found myself hesitant to trust anyone new with Lily after what had happened with my parents. I completely understand your caution, Amanda said when I awkwardly expressed my concerns. Parents should be careful about who cares for their children. Why don't you and Lily stop by tomorrow morning to see the daycare in action before you decide? Her understanding, rather than defensiveness, eased some of my anxiety. That night, just as Lily and I arrived home, my phone rang with my mother's number. Against my better judgment, I answered. "Madison, your father and I have been talking," she began without preamble. "We're willing to resume watching Lily under the terms we discussed. $1,000 weekly, paid in advance. No apology. No acknowledgement of the hurt they had caused. Just a business proposition." "No, Mom. I'm exploring other options." "Don't be foolish," she snapped. "You won't find quality care on short notice. You're punishing Lily by keeping her from us just because your feelings are hurt. This isn't about hurt feelings. It's about trust and safety. We've spoken with Pastor Jim about this situation," she continued as if I hadn't spoken. "He thinks you're being unreasonable. He suggested family counseling. I'm not interested in having our private family matters dissected by the church gossip circle," I replied, my patience wearing thin. "See? This is exactly the problem. You've always thought you know better than everyone else." No wonder Mark left. Her words struck like a physical blow. I ended the call without responding, then sat on my couch shaking with a mixture of hurt and rage. The next morning, Lily's kindergarten teacher, Ms. Bennett, asked to speak with me privately during drop-off. "Ms. Reynolds, I've noticed some concerning behaviors from Lily lately," she said gently. "She's been more withdrawn in class, and yesterday she became very anxious when her friend mentioned a secret they shared. She told me that secrets make mommy sad. I wondered if something might be happening at home." Hearing that my personal crisis was now affecting Lily at school was the final straw. That evening, after visiting Amanda's daycare and feeling cautiously optimistic about it, I broke down completely. Lily was asleep, and I sat alone in my kitchen, sobbing so hard I could barely breathe. I had never felt more alone or more overwhelmed. My career was in jeopardy, my family relationships were in tatters, my daughter was showing signs of emotional distress, and I had no idea how to fix any of it. For a brief, dark moment, I wondered if my parents were right, if I was being unreasonable, and should accept their offer despite everything. The temptation to return to something familiar, even if deeply flawed, was almost overwhelming in my exhaustion. But then I remembered my responsibility to protect Lily, to model healthy relationships and boundaries. Accepting my parents' conditional care would teach her that love could be bought and sold, that broken trust required no amends, that her feelings and safety were negotiable. I couldn't do that to her or to myself. We deserved better, even if finding better felt impossible in this moment. The next afternoon, while helping Lily unpack her backpack after school, I found a crumpled receipt tucked into her unicorn pencil case. Thinking it had gotten there by accident, I smoothed it out to check what it was before throwing it away. The paper was from Golden Shores Resort and Casino, dated just 3 days earlier. A room service charge for chicken fingers, French fries, and a chocolate milkshake, Lily's favorite meal. There was also a charge for in-room movies. My blood ran cold. My parents hadn't just been gambling while supposedly caring for Lily, they had taken her to the casino with them. They had exposed my 5-year-old daughter to an adult gambling environment. This wasn't just neglect anymore. This was actively endangering her well-being. With shaking hands, I asked Lily, "Sweetie, did you go to a hotel with Grandma and Grandpa recently? One with games and bright lights?" Lily nodded casually. "The lucky place. Grandpa plays the big machines, and I got to watch movies in the room. They said it was another special secret." Any lingering doubt or guilt I felt about cutting ties with my parents vanished in that moment. They had crossed a line that could not be uncrossed. The following day, I made an appointment with Dr. Keller, a family therapist who specialized in helping children navigate family transitions. I needed professional guidance on how to explain the situation to Lily and help her process the coming changes. "Based on what you've described, your parents have displayed concerning patterns of behavior," Dr. Keller said during our consultation. "The secrecy they've encouraged with Lily is particularly troubling. Children shouldn't be burdened with keeping adult secrets. How do I explain to her why she won't be seeing her grandparents for a while? She loves them despite everything. Honesty is important, but at an age-appropriate level," she advised. "Lily doesn't need to know about gambling addiction or financial problems. but she does need to understand that adults should be reliable and truthful, and that none of this is her fault. With Dr. Keller's guidance, I began researching gambling addiction to better understand what my father was experiencing. The patterns were unmistakable: the escalating financial risks, the lying-to-cover behavior, the belief that a big win would solve everything. I found resources for families affected by gambling addiction and information about treatment options. Meanwhile, I had started bringing Lily to Amanda's daycare in the mornings, and she seemed to be adjusting well. The small group of children gave her plenty of attention without being overwhelming, and Amanda's structured but nurturing approach reminded me of my own childhood before money and addiction had corrupted my parents' judgment. One evening after a particularly long day at work, I ran into my boss Nathaniel in the parking garage. "Madison, do you have a moment?" he asked, his expression unreadable. My heart sank, expecting more criticism of my performance. "I've noticed improvement in your work this past week," he said instead. "But more importantly, Jessica mentioned you've been going through a difficult family situation. The company has resources that might help: our family leave policy, the employee assistance program for counseling. Why didn't you come to me sooner?" His unexpected support brought tears to my eyes. "I was afraid of seeming unprofessional," I admitted. "I've always kept my personal and professional lives separate. Sometimes life doesn't allow for such neat compartmentalization," he said with surprising gentleness. "Let's talk tomorrow about adjusting your schedule temporarily, perhaps more work-from-home days while you sort things out." That conversation marked a turning point. After hanging up, I realized I had been trying to handle everything alone, as I had since my divorce, afraid that asking for help would be perceived as weakness or failure. The following weekend, I attended a support group for family members affected by gambling addiction. Sitting in a circle with strangers who nonetheless understood exactly what I was experiencing provided unexpected comfort. One woman, Rachel, had a daughter close to Lily's age and offered to exchange phone numbers for potential playdates and emergency childcare backup. "It takes a village," she said with a warm smile. "Especially when your original village is under construction." Over the next few weeks, I slowly built a network of support that didn't rely exclusively on my parents. Amanda's daycare provided consistent morning care. Jessica occasionally watched Lily after school when I had late meetings. Rachel and I established a regular carpool routine since our daughters attended the same school. My boss approved a flexible schedule that included 2 work-from-home days each week. It wasn't perfect. There were still logistical challenges and last-minute scrambles, but it was sustainable. More importantly, it was built on genuine care rather than financial transaction. 1 month after discovering the casino receipt, I sent my parents a carefully crafted email. I explained that I had discovered they had taken Lily to the casino and that I could no longer trust them with her care under any circumstances. I provided resources about gambling addiction treatment and expressed hope that my father would seek help. I closed by saying that any future contact with Lily would need to be supervised until I could be confident they would respect appropriate boundaries. My father's response came 3 days later, a terse message saying they would consider the resources I'd sent, but that I was still overreacting to what they considered normal grandparent indulgences. My mother didn't respond at all. Their reaction, while disappointing, confirmed that I had made the right decision. I focused instead on helping Lily adjust to our new routine. We created a colorful calendar together showing which adults would be caring for her each day, giving her a sense of predictability and control. "But when will I see Grandma and Grandpa again?" she asked as we added stickers to the calendar. I sat beside her on the floor, choosing my words carefully. "Grandma and Grandpa need some time to learn better ways of taking care of you. Sometimes grown-ups need to learn lessons too. When they're ready, we'll have special visits together." "Did they get in trouble for taking me to the lucky place and telling me to keep secrets?" she asked with the perceptiveness children often surprise us with. "Yes, sweetheart. Grown-ups should never ask children to keep secrets from their parents. That wasn't your fault, and you did the right thing by telling me." She nodded thoughtfully. "I like Amanda's house. And playing with Rachel's daughter. And when you work at home and make me special lunch." Her simple acceptance of our new reality eased some of the lingering guilt I felt about separating her from her grandparents. Children are remarkably adaptable when given stability and honesty, a lesson I was learning alongside her. 2 months after the final confrontation with my parents, we held a do-over birthday celebration for Lily. It wasn't elaborate, just a small gathering in our backyard with her new friends from Amanda's daycare, Jessica's children, and Rachel's daughter. We had unicorn cupcakes, a sprinkler for the kids to run through on the warm June afternoon, and a simple scavenger hunt for unicorn treasures hidden around the yard. Watching Lily laugh as she raced through the sprinkler, her face alight with uncomplicated joy, I felt a profound sense of peace about the difficult decisions I had made. That morning, I had received an unexpected text from my father. Starting outpatient treatment program tomorrow. Therapist says no contact with Lily until I've made significant progress. We'll keep you updated if you're interested. It was the first acknowledgement from either of my parents that they had contributed to the breakdown of our relationship. The message contained no apology, but the fact that my father was seeking treatment represented a glimmer of hope. I replied simply, "I'm glad to hear it, Dad. Wishing you success with the program." The road to rebuilding trust would be long, and I harbored no illusions that our relationship would ever return to what it had been. But for Lily's sake, and honestly, for my own, I wanted to leave the door open to eventual reconciliation, provided my parents demonstrated genuine change. In the meantime, we had created a new kind of family, not defined by blood relation but by reliability, respect, and genuine care. Jessica had become not just a colleague but a true friend. Amanda wasn't just Lily's caregiver but a trusted advisor on childhood development. Rachel and I shared not only carpooling duties but also the unique challenges of single motherhood. My work performance had rebounded as well. The flexible schedule allowed me to be fully present either at work or with Lily, rather than constantly dividing my attention between both. Nathaniel had recently mentioned considering me for a promotion that would involve less travel but more strategic responsibility, a perfect fit for my current life situation. Most importantly, Lily was thriving again. Her kindergarten teacher reported that she had returned to her usual engaged, curious self in the classroom. The withdrawal and anxiety had faded as our new routine provided the stability and honesty she needed. One evening as I tucked her into bed, Lily asked, "Mommy, can I tell you a secret?" My heart skipped a beat, remembering how secrets had become a warning sign in our family. "You can tell me anything, sweetheart, but remember that parents and children don't usually need to keep secrets from each other." She nodded seriously. "It's not a keeping secret. It's a telling secret." She leaned in to whisper, "I think our new family is even better than before. I have so many people who love me now." Her innocent observation brought tears to my eyes as I hugged her tightly. "You're right, Lily. Our family has grown in wonderful new ways." As I reflect on the painful journey of the past few months, I realize how much I've learned about family, boundaries, and resilience. I learned that family isn't defined solely by blood relation, but by actions that demonstrate genuine love and respect. My parents' biological connection to Lily meant nothing when they repeatedly prioritized their own desires over her well-being. I learned that money can indeed corrupt even the closest relationships when it becomes the primary basis for interaction. What began as my well-intentioned desire to compensate my parents fairly transformed our relationship from family members who helped each other into a transactional arrangement that devalued the emotional bonds. I learned that establishing and maintaining healthy boundaries isn't selfish, it's essential, especially when children are involved. By allowing my parents to violate my trust repeatedly without consequences, I had inadvertently taught Lily that such behavior was acceptable. I learned that seeking help isn't a sign of weakness, but of wisdom. My stubborn independence had prevented me from building the support network I needed much earlier. Now I understand that interdependence, knowing when to lean on others and when to offer support in return, creates stronger communities than self-reliance ever could. Most importantly, I learned that children need reliability and honesty above all. Lily didn't need perfect grandparents or a perfect mother. She needed adults who showed up consistently, who acknowledged their mistakes, who prioritized her emotional well-being over their own convenience or comfort. The path forward isn't entirely clear. I don't know if my father will complete his treatment program, if my mother will ever acknowledge her role in enabling his addiction and endangering Lily, or if we'll ever restore the trust that has been broken. What I do know is that Lily and I are no longer dependent on them financially, logistically, or emotionally. We've built something new and beautiful from the painful collapse of what we had before. Whatever happens with my parents, we'll be okay. If you're facing a similar situation with family members who have betrayed your trust, especially when it affects your children, please know that you're not alone. Setting boundaries isn't about punishment, it's about protection and teaching healthy relationship patterns. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for someone is to stop enabling destructive behavior, even when it breaks your heart to do so. I'd love to hear your experiences with setting difficult family boundaries in the comments below. Have you ever had to limit contact with loved ones for your children's well-being? What strategies helped you through that challenging process? Please share your wisdom, subscribe if this story resonated with you, and hit that like button to help others find this community of support. Thank you for listening to my story, and remember, sometimes the families we create are even more beautiful than the ones we're born into.